Hi, I'm Eggs.
I'm Biscuit.
This is Bangtan Book Club, a hopefully bi-weekly podcast where we talk about either books or movies that have been referenced in the BTS MVs, or just that we think share similar themes.
Because they're cool.
Yeah. So this week we're going to be talking about Spring Day, specifically the reference to The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas.
By Ursula Guin, obviously the best author that you all don't know about for some reason. But I love her works, and especially The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. So as you probably all saw in the music video, there's the motel that the rap line is staying at that has the title Omelas. And a lot of people are speculating about exactly what that means in the context of the music video, but we don't care about theories here.
Nah.
That's not what we're here to talk about. We just want to talk about some awesome literary works. So, I know a lot of you have read The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas after they saw the music video, and you probably all know what it's about because it's a tiny, short, 4-page story. But to summarize the gist of it, basically, there's this city that not many people come across. It's in the middle of nowhere-ish, but it's kind of a paradise. Everything's happy. There's festivals all the time. People eat food. They're good. They're happy. Everything's all great. There's a specific great line of, if it helps to imagine an orgy, then please imagine an orgy. But as all of the citizens of the city know, this is at the expense of one child who is kept in horrible conditions and not fed and never sees daylight, probably can't talk. And so it's the meaning of the story is a little bit that to have happiness and to have this great living comes at the suffering of others. While that is kind of the theme of the story, the important part, of course, is, as it says in the title, the ones who walk away from Omelas, specifically the people who see the injustice happening here and are not content to live in that world. And so as the story ends, they maybe not know where they're going, but they definitely know why they're going. They seem to know what they want, the ones who walk away from Omelas.
Yeah. I guess it's especially important to mention that everyone in the town who lives there knows that there is a child being kept there in a basement somewhere. And they talk about how some people never go down to see the child, so they just kind of don't deal with it. Some people go down there and they're horrified, but then later they'll say well, that child can't be integrated back into society anyway, so it might as well serve a purpose.
Or the suffering of one is fine if it means the rest of us can live okay.
Yeah, so it's very much about how you would perceive happiness and what's worth this perfect society that they live in.
The context of the You Never Walk Alone album is, as many of the members have said, that to comfort the youth of today's society, especially because millennials and whatever and all that nonsense has been especially hated upon and criticized in the media and everything for being who we are, for being the selfie generation, for being the jobless environment, the lazy generation, when a lot of the problems have come from people from before us, especially think about the environment or politics today or any of our gender or race issues and such like that. And so BTS You Never Walk Alone is all about, you may see the injustice of this world and the wrongful criticisms that have been put upon you. But just like the ones who walk away from Omelas, you never walk alone. You always have those people who are also seeing that injustice with you and are willing to walk with you.
Yeah, so it's those who walk from Omelas, but you never walk alone. So, so they reference it quite obviously in the video with the hotel sign, but then there's also, no, there wasn't. I was going to say there's a lot of parallels with the story, but not really.
I mean, you guess you could say that because that there are parallels with the rest of the story, because so they're at this idealistic motel scene or whatever, right, where they're having this party. It's Bratman's birthday.
Yeah, they're throwing the cake directly into his face.
Yeah, and everyone seems really happy and everything.
But then as the music video goes on, you see the same shots of them all sitting in front of this cake. It's a birthday party that no one wants to be at. And so I guess you could see that's reflecting sort of how they realize how it's not an ideal world or they don't want to be there.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been looking into the theory of Jungkook specifically when he's running towards the motel, and there's the no vacancy sign flickering. And our kind of spin on that is that you could place him in the position of the
child in the basement in the Omelas story.
But maybe not quite a direct correlation there, but you could say that he is the one who's not allowed into Omelas, or to enjoy Omelas's frivolities or whatever. But as soon as he is running, he runs through the motel, he runs through the laundry room, he runs past that. But as soon as he walks out, his friends join him. They're walking away from Omelas.
So they're essentially leaving with him. And I think there is a lot of focus on Jungkook because, there's a shot of him watching himself go by on the train, which I thought was interesting. And then
I love trains.
And there's that scene of him in front of the carousel, and he's the only one not moving while everyone else goes around him.
It's symbolic.
Another thing that people have been talking about is, I feel like people are trying to connect the quote-unquote story from Spring Day into the I Need You / Run universe, but personally, I don't think they're related. I think they're separate concepts. Obviously, there are a lot of parallels in there because, there are a bunch of trains and they run around and they party in them. The scene, the first scene in the train car in Run versus the cake scene in Spring Day is very similar. And then they have that same shot where in Run they zoom in on Jungkook and then they slowly pan out and it's they're all gone, he's alone. Whereas in Spring Day they start in with Jungkook and then they slowly pan out and everyone's on the train with him. Cool. But I really don't think I don't think it's a continuation of that.
Especially because you have to look at Run in the broader context of all the other, epilogue and I Need You and all that. So that one really has its own story wholly unto itself. Maybe You Never Walk Alone has some of the same themes to it, but I would say they're not really meant to be analyzed in the same way.
Yeah, and now that you mention it, they have an epilogue, so I'm pretty sure they're done.
Let's stop with the Run parallels, guys!
Not that we really care about the theories that much, but we'll talk about a few of them. So, there's a lot of talking about shoes. People are like, oh, Jimin, the shoes that he throws on the tree are not the shoes that he's wearing, and I'm obviously, but, and then they're at the end of the video, Jin doesn't have shoes, so maybe that means
he doesn't have shoes?
He's not wearing shoes or something.
Huh.
No, it's not at the end of the video. At some point in the music video, Jin isn't wearing shoes, but then at the end, the very end, someone zoomed in, and there's only 6 people, and they're Jin's missing, which means he's dead, apparently.
I'll just say that, at least before the MV came out, I saw a lot of the stuff about, you throw your shoes on the tree, and it's meant to, keep spirits from haunting the earth or something like that. Someone's dead, blah, 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 shoe tree. Well, let me just tell you that I come from a town where we had not 1, but 2 shoe trees. And people just threw their shoes on the trees for fun. Right. People throw them on power lines for fun.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of meanings behind it, but I never
this other tree
heard
where
of it as a death thing.
You throw your shoes on the tree when you graduate, Yeah. There's lots of context in different places.
You throw your shoes to show that you got laid, or that you graduated, or because you're bullying someone, and that's a weird way to
taking their shoes, sometimes people take homeless people's shoes and throw them on trees just because to be jerks,
So according to the Wikipedia page, the whole thing where you throw someone's shoes into a tree to show that someone's died is a legitimate thing, but I'm not into it.
I don't think it's real.
Yeah, so it's just because Jungkook graduated. That's the real reason.
Obviously why he should do that. Because Jungkook graduated. That's why they threw the shoes.
Good work.
I'm just gonna talk about trains for a little bit because I fucking love trains. My brother works for a train company. I grew up making model trains.
I grew up in a train.
I grew up in a train.
I am a train.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles was my favorite movie as a kid. So trains kind of represent this interesting theme in BTS's music videos. I mean, we said we don't really like the parallels between Run and Spring Day, but they both do have trains, so that kind of means something. So trains especially represent moving from one place to another, the journey of the travel. So more so than you would say a plane or a car, because a train while you know the destination, you can't control the speed or necessarily the path it takes. So you're putting a lot of trust in the hands of another thing, but you are ultimately going somewhere. And you travel that with a lot of people maybe you don't know, and a lot of people maybe you do know. But you are ending up somewhere. The train represents the journey of yourself and the journey of you with other people. So, you know, Jungkook's on the train, passing by himself that he sees out the window, but he's on the train with his friends, and so in both contexts, he's with his buddies.
Yeah,
and
you're not alone.
He's going somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of trains,
trains.
Let's talk about Snowpiercer. So if you look at the translated lyrics for Spring Day, at one point they say, "My heart makes time run like a snowpiercer left alone," which is in reference to the movie Snowpiercer, which it did really well in
One
Korea.
of the highest grossing Korean movies, produced by a Korean guy, all this cool stuff.
Yeah. So basically, in Snowpiercer, they talk about how people tried to fix climate change, basically, but they messed up so badly that they caused another ice age. So what's left of humanity just rides on this train that basically circles the globe just endlessly.
Kinetic energy.
Yeah. So that's how it can keep going. And so people on this train are divided. There's like a sort of class hierarchy. So people who manage to get to the front of the train are in first class. Then everyone else lives at what they call like just the tail of the train. And it's super, crowded back there, and it's dirty, and they don't have enough food. And it's just like, it's really bad. And they eat each other at one point.
Yeah, there's cannibalism. I guess some people fight back eventually.
Yeah.
And the movie ends, spoiler alert, that with the train crashing and the only survivors being 2 kids.
Yeah. So then they go outside and they see this polar bear and they're like, wow.
There is life out here. The world's going to fix itself. But we're probably going to die first because we're only 2 kids left of humanity.
Yeah, honestly. One of them's like 17 and the other one's literally like 5. So I don't know how
really?
So I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
In relation to Spring Day, obviously there's a lot of train stuff going on. And it's also this whole thing because in the movie, people talk a lot about how the train is like a closed ecosystem. They have to work really hard to maintain it, so sometimes they'll plan revolts to reduce the population, of the train and stuff like that. So one of the main characters says, like, we need to just get off this train. And they talk about the revolt of the 7, which is where... about like 3 years into, like after the train first left, 7 people decided they didn't want to, live on the train, so they tried to leave. But like they ended up leaving too early, so they froze to death, like really close to where the train tracks are. So then every year when they drive past that place, you can just see the 7 of them frozen, and they point it out, and they're like, oh, well, this is like why you shouldn't leave the train. Obviously, I don't think that's what BTS is getting at, but
still a cool little correlation there.
And I guess you could also say that like where they failed, BTS is saying like, oh, but you can do it. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. I think especially Snowpiercer is in the context of a disaster movie where dealing with one of the major issues of today, climate change, and something that is definitely plaguing our generation. And BTS's, you never walk alone concept, comfort for the youthful generation, especially Snowpiercer, which is a movie all about the mistakes of the older generation and the people paying for it.
And there are also interesting parallels between Snowpiercer and those who walk away from Omelas, because like how in Omelas there's one child that gets locked away to keep the rest of that town, working. In Snowpiercer, they take children from the tail end of the train and they bring them to the front, and then they put them in the engine so they can keep going manually. And then sometimes they also use them just for organs and stuff like that. So they talk about how we can't get rid of the tail end of the train completely because we need people, essentially.
Yeah, and I think also there's a parallel between, in Spring Day, most of it is talking about the eternal winter, and it's all snowy scenes and stuff. But at the end of the music video, you see the sun rising and spring is starting to come. It's Spring Day. So same thing in Snowpiercer, where it's this ice age that they've caused, and it's just eternal winter. But at the end of the movie, we see the polar bear, meaning that life's out there. It's going to keep going. Things are going to get better. if anyone is still listening to this, and you are interested in the ones who walk away from Omelas, and maybe you were like, man, that was only 4 pages long, but I really liked that style of writing, or I really liked whatever, I would highly, highly recommend checking out some of Ursula K. Le Guin's other stories, specifically her 2 probably most famous ones, or at least ones that I've read, are The Wizard from Earthsea, which is part of the Earthsea Chronicles. That's like a fantasy one where there's magic-y cool stuff and a lot of stuff to do with naming and all this really cool stuff. And then she also has a sci-fi book that is really, really well known called The Left Hand of Darkness.
Yeah.
It's a really good book that deals a lot with gender and ideas behind it and all this stuff, and it's in the context of aliens and really cool stuff. So I highly recommend checking out some of her other stuff. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah. While you were saying that the whole time, I was just trying to mime Left Hand of Darkness to you.
I got you, bro. We really love talking about books and art and movies and stuff, and if you want to talk to us about cool books and movies and art, especially in the context of Bangtan.
Yes.
We would especially love to hear from you and would appreciate any... I almost said discourse.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want no discourse. Yeah. But any comments you want to make or asks you want to send us.
Yep. Or if you know any specific books or movies that they reference in MVs and you want us to talk about it, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Just shoot us a message. Or if you maybe we can also have a separate thing where we're like, you ask us questions, we answer them in the podcast.
Yeah.
We could do that. It's good.
We could give you a shout out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we could also release some stuff where it's just us talking about BTS without the context of literature.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We love to talk about BTS. As our poor roommates can attest to.
Someone please help us. Alright, I think that's everything.
Thanks for listening.
See you soon.
I'm Biscuit.
No, I'm Eggs.
I'm Biscuit.
Bye.